Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled that you have found us here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15 going on 16 novels of suspense. My current novel is One Wrong Word, which you see on the door behind me, of course. And my brand new novel is All This Could Be Yours, which comes out this coming September. But I can tell you on Thursday, this Thursday, day after tomorrow, the cover will be revealed. So come to my Facebook page, come to my Instagram page, and I will show it to you. I'm not allowed to say a word about it, except that you can see it on Thursday, and it is unbelievable. That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. Speaking of unbelievable, today we are here. Look at the cover of this. You all. It is absolutely astonishing. Mask of the Deer Woman by Laurie L. Dove. And we will talk about this cover with the fabulous Laurie today. Yes, cover reveal coming, says Mighty Blaze. We will talk about about this cover with Laurie in a bit, because the book is haunting and evocative and powerful and life-changing. You truly, it's a mystery and it's the beginning of a series. We'll talk about all that. But your life will be different as a result of this book. And I'm so honored to be able to read this on Pub Day for Laurie Dove. Welcome to Crime Time, Laurie, and happiest of Pub Days.
Thank you. It is so exciting to be here, especially on Pub Day, and I'm just honored to spend some time with you.
What's your Pub Day been like so far?
Oh, it has been so lovely. You know, I have this entire community behind this book, and to hear from so many people today and to hear from my brilliant team at Berkeley has just been a dream. It's been wonderful.
Do you have, when you woke up this morning, this is a sort of it is for all of us. It is a dream come true to see your actual book, especially, hey, Kathy Lanigan, happy Crime Time Tuesday to you too, especially something this rich and wonderful. Have you always wanted to be a fiction writer?
Yes. So this book is a long held dream. I have dreamed of this moment my entire life. I was an early reader. I was an early writer. I remember in very early childhood writing books. And so, like a lot of people, I worked adjacent to writing fiction, and I worked as a reporter for a long time. And I truly loved it. I found a lot of meaning in telling people's stories. I felt like I was making a difference, and that's really important to me. And I think that shows in this book as well, where there's some deeper issues to be addressed.
I can't wait to talk about that. It really was, as I said, haunting and moving and thought-provoking. Katie says she's in Georgia and it is snowing there. That is quite amazing. Where are you, Laurie, and what's the weather like where you are?
I'm in Kansas, near Wichita, so I'm in South Central Kansas, and it is cold. It is very cold here today.
Yeah, I'm in Boston. I think it's 7. So we can all just celebrate winter a little bit together. We can get cozy here on Crime Time as we often do. One of the things about being a debut author, and especially when you've wanted it your whole life. We go into bookstores and we go into libraries and we see other people's books. And we think, oh, someday I'll have that. What was when was the first time you saw your book in the wild, in someplace real, or have you even yet?
I have been getting pictures today from people in bookstores, airports, all over the place, getting their own mail that have been sending me pictures of the book. And it is the most lovely thing. I would like to have a book launch day, a book release day 1,000 times over. It's been so lovely.
Well, it will continue to be that way. You have so many people who are here with you today. Deborah Ledford is here. Hooray, Deborah. Nice to see you here. A wonderful friend of Crime Time. Renee Herskowitz and Katie Crutchfield is here. Deborah Pruss and Kim Rudder. Vicki Gregory. Irma is here. Kathy Lanigan is here. Oh, look, I love Vicki Gregory says, great cover. Shall we just go for the cover and talk about it? Because Vicki has brought it up now. This is really haunting. And the colors are spectacular. Let's do this. Let's just talk about not what it means, but just when you first saw this, when you opened that box, what did you think?
When I opened that box, I thought, this is literally a dream come true. And to have this image that is so vibrant. I was in a museum in Kansas City, and they have a huge Caravaggio, and it has this very specific red in it. And when we were talking about the cover, I thought, oh, that's the red. And red is important to the story in several ways, but the way that these small suggestions of mine were taken and developed into this really striking image, I think is just stunning.
That is interesting. Caravaggio red. That's gorgeous. I mean, you can see the richness of this, and this will stand out a mile away in a bookstore, right? Shirley says she is looking forward to reading it, and we are looking forward to talking about that. Let me just welcome you all to A Mighty Blaze. If you are new to A Mighty Blaze, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are a veteran, we love to have you here on Crime Time. You know that A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic 5 years ago now, which is odd to think of, by the marvelous powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, and designed to sort of keep us all together in a community, keep us reading, keep us writing, keep us discovering new authors and talking to some of our already favorite authors. And of course, discovering brand new marvelous books from debut authors like Laurie L. Dove. And that is why we are here today. Let me quickly tell you about Laurie specifically. Laurie is a reporter and editor whose work has appeared in numerous publications and garnered several honors for outstanding journalism. She graduated with a master's degree in creative writing and literature from Harvard University. So that's just up the street. We should have gotten together during.
I know, that would have been fun.
Never too late. Never too late. She is an adjunct professor who currently lives and writes in Kansas, and you can find her at lauriedove.com, but don't go right now, go later, because I want you to hear from Laurie Dove herself, not via the internet. Anyway, not via her website. Mask of the Dear Woman is her debut novel, out today. And let me just read you an endorsement from the fabulous Chris Mooney, who says, "A thriller that dreams are made of, thoroughly engrossing, riveting, an absolute pleasure, the work of a rare, singular talent." I have to know, Laurie, when you saw that, what did you think?
Well, I honestly thought, this is a full circle moment I'd never even dreamed of having have happened. He was one of my instructors in my master's degree program, and part of this story actually got its start in one of his classes, and I really admired his work. Before the class, I went and read all of his books, and I thought, oh, this is lovely. And so to be able to come back to him a couple of years later and say, what do you think of this book, was amazing.
And not only that, I mean, first of all, it's just so meta to show your writing instructor your novel, and then to take that really terrifying step of what if he doesn't like it, and then to have him come back with this really heartfelt praise. You're so right about full circle moment.
Yes, it was beautiful. And the really neat thing is, I've had a series of those moments over and over and over again in the year leading up to this launch and today, and I expect that may even continue. It's been full of wonderful surprises.
Well, you look so happy, I have to say, if I can make a personal remark. You really, really look so happy about this. Let's get to the book, okay? Because I could talk to you forever about the other stuff. But this book is so marvelous. Can you just tell us a little bit about the book, and then we'll get to the themes and everything else that's involved?
Absolutely. So, Mask of the Dear Woman, it features Carrie Starr, who is an ex-Chicago detective who was asked to leave the force. And she has taken a job of last resort at a fictional reservation in Oklahoma, right over the Kansas state line, where her father was raised. And while she's there, really mired in grief from the death of her daughter, she discovers that a local college student from the reservation has gone missing. And there is an entire series of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So it takes her right into this real world issue.
Yeah, and it is a real world issue, and I want to talk about that quite a bit in a minute. But Carrie Starr, she has her own really heavy backstory, wonderfully heavy and in depth, and she's such a layered person. Can you tell us a little bit about her as much as you can, and how that powers the book, her grief and her fish out of water and her desire to find her place?
Yes, and really, I was just writing the complex, complicated, sometimes unlikable character that I saw in my head. And after I finished, I realized, oh, this book is really about grief. All of these things are about grief. And it was written during a time that I think a lot of us were grieving. It was during the pandemic, and there was a lot of uncertainty and grief. And there are all of these underlying issues that came to light in the book as well with missing and murdered Indigenous women. And so when it came to Carrie Starr, she really became a vehicle for all of these what if questions that I had personally. But then also, she really became an icon for everyone who gets up every day and does it anyway. When it's hard, when you don't want to, when nothing feels right, and you persevere.
Yeah, and that comes through so gorgeously. I mean, she second guesses herself a lot, and she sort of emotionally admonishes herself a lot, and she struggles with that. And yet, and yet, she comes across as a person with some power. Um, how do you balance? Was that a balance for you?
With Star, I really struck that balance kind of organically. It wasn't developed. I didn't analyze my way into it. This is just who this character is. And I really like that complexity that she has. I like that she exhibits my favorite thing about books, which is what the character says and does is often very different from what the character thinks. And I think there is a great unknowable nature in people. And being able to explore that in a book, I think is really gratifying. And then being able to explore that in a character where we can see what she's thinking and how she's hard on herself. And she has all of these memories and issues that she's taking with her into this next phase of her life.
I mean,
And
I
yet
was
we
going to say,
see that.
you see the balance and you see her struggle and you see her
Mhm,
persevere. And I
mhm.
think one of the things, if you just joined us, you lucky people, we're talking about Mask of the Deer Woman by Laurie L. Dove and the main character, Carrie Starr. I mean, one of the things about your writing style, though, that I really admire is the way that you do take us on two levels, at least, if not three, actually three, in many of the scenes. Is that she's on the one plane, she's having her real life, she's trying to do her job. On the other plane, she's balancing her the weight on her shoulders from her past and her fear of the future. And on the third level, there's this haunting, almost mystical level of her understanding of a culture. Um, how hard was that to balance? I keep using the word balance because you do it so gorgeously. How hard was it to balance that?
That's a great question. I think that really I wanted to be able to show that Star is multifaceted, like people are. I know so many people, and I know you do too, all of us. People are so interesting and they're full of contradictions, and they're often full of something much
Oh,
deeper that we never see. And I feel like in Star, really, I'm just um, bringing in these layers that already exist in people everywhere.
was that
We're all.
you to as you're writing to see, and forgive me, but it's a writing thing, to see how she reacted and behaved as she came to life in your brain?
Well, I asked her a lot of questions. So, really, I thought through this book for a long time before it really became the novel. It started as a short story, and I thought, oh, there's a lot to this character here. So, I kind of deconstructed that short story and thought, okay, this is a novel. But then I just kind of stopped the process. And really, I spent a lot of time thinking. I just held these thought auditions, what if this? What if this? What if she was presented with this situation? What would she do here? And that was really so helpful because then when I began to write the book, I knew who this character was. Like I can confidently say today what she would or would not do or how she would react in a situation. Yet when I'm writing, she still surprises me.
Yeah.
So it's been this wonderful relationship.
That's because she's a real person. You've created a real person. I'm in love with your phrase thought auditions. That's just marvelous. Take us back a little bit. You alluded earlier to that Chris Mooney was a professor, and that this idea came from a short story in that class. Can you talk a little bit about that moment and what was said and what you thought?
Well, one of the things that I have been developing, and I haven't figured it out yet, is my own discernment about writing fiction. When I was a reporter, I developed this sense of when I was writing something that was good, and then when I was writing something that was more exceptional. And that's what I'm still figuring out. So I really relied for this first novel on feedback from people and looking for patterns of what people were responding to in
Mhm.
the work. And that helped immensely.
Can you tell us what those things were?
Oh, yes. So, um, what I look for instead of that very individual critique is the pattern of critique. So, do other people see this character the way I see the character? Because the longest and most difficult distance to cross is from the head to the page. And so, I'm really testing whether or not I'm crossing that distance successfully with the people who are reading the novel. And it's really been this lovely kind of back and forth collaborative experience. I have a brilliant editor as well, and we did that together. And it has just been very useful. And then it helped me to really develop parts of the story that maybe weren't as strong as Carrie's character, but were able to be developed a little better.
This is so fascinating because you talk about that the distance between the head to the page is the hardest to conquer. And it's a couple of distances because it's the head of the author to the page of the novel, and it's the page of the novel to the head of the reader, which is this journey of understanding. I know that sometimes I think I wish I could just osmose my thoughts to the computer instead of because when I try to type the words, it comes out to feel different than the whole. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes so much sense. Writing is such a flawed process, it's just fraught with misunderstandings and context that you can't get across, and you just try your best. And I love it. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to get it right because this is absolutely an incredible way to spend time.
It is indeed. That is very true. I wonder though, what was the first element of this novel or short story that came to you? What had you thought you were writing about?
Well, I didn't know what kind of story I was writing, but when I wrote the short story, I saw the ending very clearly. And once I knew the ending, I was able to move toward that as a target. And the ending of that short story is still pretty close to the ending in this novel. And what that moment was an interplay between Carrie Starr and a younger woman. And I have daughters, and so as they're going out into the big wide world, I have these fears and concerns and joys as a mother that really, in some ways, I worked through some of those in that book as well. But, I'm at a point in my life, and I probably always was, the moment I became a mother, that there are decisions I would make that would damage myself that would benefit them. And I think many women, many parents have that instinct as well. So to see that interplay in the end of the book between these characters, I thought was interesting.
But you can't have a mystery, a thriller, without a murder plot, a crime. Otherwise, you just have a character study. When did the missing and murdered Indigenous women idea for the crux of the book come to your mind?
That started during the research for the book because here we have this situation that Carrie Starr is in. She returns to the fictional Salaqua Nation in Oklahoma, right over the Kansas state line. And what then? What if? So those are all the questions I answered through this. And as I was doing that, it was a lot like researching the articles that I used to write, where I'm really delving into the research, and it always starts with just one small thing. And I noticed something and I just pulled that thread. And so I got really deep into this research about missing and murdered Indigenous women. And I really found an issue that um, compelled me to really make that an integral part of the book, and something that I want to continue to talk about, because it is such a crisis that is not always getting the attention that it needs. And I thought it ended up really adding some reality to the story that anchored it in the real world, but has the dual purpose of hopefully building awareness for this issue.
Yes, because that is such a powerful and important issue and has been so ignored.
Mhm.
You had a line about that the missing and murdered Indigenous women are lost first in real life and then lost in the media because people
Yeah.
just are not paying attention to them. As you got more and more deeply into that element of your book, how did that affect you?
Well, it affected me deeply because, as someone who does ask a lot of those what if questions, I ask that about my own life too, and my daughter's lives, because I was adopted as an infant by Mennonite farmers in Kansas. And I have Indigenous heritage. And so to think that, but for these variables, how different my life might have been, how different life might have been for my daughters or their friends or our family that we knew, that really struck a chord with me. And I think if we can all look at other human beings that way, as if, this could be me, that level of compassion can really prompt us to do some things that make a difference.
And that's one of the things that makes this such a powerful story. It makes us all realize how, gasp worthy every bit of our lives is, because it so easily could have gone 10 million other ways. And then it didn't. And why? And how do we understand that? And I love how you delve into that in the novel. Back to the book very practically. I want to welcome you all here. Sue Street is here saying hello from Chile, Wisconsin, and Sharon Bishop is here. Shannon Hansen, Robin Stull. Look at everyone. Sherry Steuben is saying, are you going on tour? We'll talk about this. Shannon Shanson says it is on my TBR. And Randy is here too from That's So Fabulous from Barnes & Noble. We're talking about Mask of the Deer Woman. You bring Carrie into the story by making her a tribal marshal. What is that? And why was that so critical in the story, that position?
Yes. So she is a Bureau of Indian Affairs tribal marshal. Now, previously, there was no law enforcement on the Salaqua Nation, and had not been for many years. They weren't able to fund their own police force. And to have Starr come in as a federal employee really allowed me to exploit some of those existing issues with sovereign nations and the federal government and those interactions, and take a look at that in this small way.
I mean, it's interesting to think about your reporter skills going into this novel, as well as your fictional skills going into this novel, as well as sort of the cultural, minefields that you're walking in writing a book like this, that it has to be so superly correct in every way. Can you talk a little bit about how top of mind that was to be careful and respectful and true and honest and right?
Yes, that's a good point because that is the ultimate thing that's important, right? Because none of this would matter in the book if I don't get that part right.
Mm.
And so the way that I approach that is that Carrie Starr is an outsider and I'm an outsider. And I don't have all of this cultural knowledge that exists in this richly woven diaspora of Native American heritage. But she does do her best to learn about it. And these things that are a surprise to her allowed me an entree into this world without pretending that I'm an expert on it because I am not. And I didn't want in any way it to come across as if I was trying to represent something that I'm not.
Well, it comes across with such care and such respect and such authentic, genuine compassion and curiosity, also, which is what a reporter has to have, and what a tribal marshal also has to have. When she discovers that this young woman is missing, there is another controversy, another conflict that happens in that the conflict of culture versus a professional desire. I'm babbling here because I'm thinking, don't give anything away, don't give anything away. I'm pulling myself back from the plot here. But how real world is this story?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that some of these events are playing out. And I have family in Oklahoma, so I spent quite a bit of time there, and I'm just over the border here in Kansas. But I took a research trip there, really an extended trip with one of my daughters. And one of the things that we really carried away from that is that this missing and murdered Indigenous women, it's really an undercurrent in everyone's lives. And, people know someone, or they know someone who knows someone who has had a fate like this. So it's really become important to me.
And it is interwoven through the entire story. I have forgotten, you should remind me in the comments. I have forgotten to tell you that we are giving away, well, we're not giving away. Laurie and Berkeley, her publisher, are giving away a copy of this gorgeous book to one lucky commenter. Sharon says, I get to see you soon in Stillwater. That's so great. I want a picture. You send me a picture, Sharon. I'd love to see that. Tori says, I'm so excited for this book. Yes, indeed. Anyway, one of you will win a copy of this novel by leaving a question or a comment, and we will pick a winner at the end of the show. The rest of you, not right now, but right after this, click, click, click. It's Laurie's pub day, so come see her at one of her events, which you can find at her website, lauriedove.com, or online, of course, or in real life. Anyway, the themes of grief and reconnection. We had talked about grief a little bit before, but the themes of reconnection are so powerful in this book. Can you talk a little bit about reconnection on so many levels?
Yes, and that's really a wonderful observation that there are these layers of reconnection because Carrie Starr is really trying to integrate all these different parts of herself into being a whole functioning human in this book. And I really enjoyed exploring that with her, and I'm excited to see where it goes next. But that reconnection, I think, is really something that is not particular to any certain character in here. They're all trying to reconnect. And I really liked being able to write about that.
And it comes across so wonderfully. This was just such a terrific book. It's also, one of the things about this book is there's a spirituality about it, a sort of haunting, almost mystic quality from time to time in it, which wraps itself around the harsh reality of life so much. I hope I'm saying this that makes some sense. What was it like to write those parts?
I loved it. I love books with magical realism. And what was really fun about this book is when I started writing it, I wasn't really sure what kind of story it would be. I didn't go into it with the thought, oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. I wrote the book that I wanted in the world, and it really brought together all of these interests that I have because I'm really interested in these social justice issues. I'm interested in this character as she develops and walks through grief. I'm interested in the way this plays out in a community because we have both the community on the Salaqua Nation and the community in a small town nearby. And all of those things were really fascinating to me, along with solving these puzzles that crop up for her. So it's really just a culmination of all of these interests that I have.
Is there really the story of the Mask of the Deer Woman? Is that a real story?
Well, there are many stories about deer women. And in this book, there is a mask, and that really, a deer mask, and that really impacts Carrie Starr very early in the book. And then we have this myth telling, this exploration of it throughout the book, which I think is really interesting because, you know, in say Beloved by Toni Morrison, we have these moments of myth. You know, we have these rhymes that the children sing that really there's truth to it. And I think that's so true for all of these places in the world, right? Like, you know, in my family, there are sayings that have kind of been passed down generation to generation, but there's some truth to it, and that happens everywhere. So to really be able to explore that myth and to anchor that in a way that is impacting people's lives now, not in some past time, but right now, I think was really interesting to me.
And fascinating to read. I mean, it's such a total immersion story, this book. And I didn't know exactly what to expect when I started reading it, but it wasn't that. I mean, and so I was just so delightfully surprised by how haunted I am by this. And so this is the first of a series. Is that correct?
It is, yes. So, Mask of the Deer Woman, we have two more books coming out on this vein, and I'm very excited to work on those and to see where Carrie Starr goes and how she develops as a person and all of the people around her as well. So, it's a beautiful community that's been built with all of the things a community has. You know, you have people who are struggling and people who are interested in power and everyone in between trying to live their lives. And that's what I love in this series, that we can follow these people wherever they go.
And I have one more question, and we'll go to your question. So remember to enter to win a copy of Mask of the Deer Woman. Look at this gorgeous, precious thing. Just leave a question or a comment or just general adulation for Laurie in the comments. I'm just wondering about how you. It started out as a short story, an idea for a short story. Then it was a short story. Then it was an idea for a novel, and now it's a series. And so, how does your thought process of structure evolve when you think, oh no, I'm not just telling Carrie's story in one book. I have to have an arc that goes longer, and who knows how long. Was there a moment where you thought, oh no, I have to do something different? And how do you think about the book differently now that it's not just one?
I never had an oh no moment with this. From the very beginning, from that first short story, I knew this is a character with a lot of life, with legs, as we used to say in the newspaper business. And so it will be really interesting to me to see where she goes. I almost feel like I'm a companion in this story that's being told. And so I'm very excited about it. I knew even as I was writing this first book that the ending is kind of a pause as opposed to an ending. We'll be back. And I'm lucky enough that that came true.
Yes, and I think you did a great job of that a central question is answered, but that the story of the world goes on. And that's exactly what happens in a wonderful series like Mask of the Deer Woman, the very first in a continuing series starring Carrie Starr. So let's have some questions from the audience. We have so many questions, and I have a million more, but let's take the audience questions. Shannon Hansen says, was this always the title? And she loves it. Everybody loves it.
I love that question. So, my working title was Twice Gone because what's really central to this book is this notion that Indigenous women disappear twice, once in life and once in the news. And so, Twice Gone was really a mirror of what
Mm-hmm.
one of the themes ended up being in the book. So, thank you for asking that.
Yes, Twice Gone. But I love Mask of the Deer Woman. It's instantly tells us
Yes.
what this is. It's very much more specific and sort of itself. And you know what? I should ask you about this cover. We were talking about the Caravaggio red and how beautiful you thought it was. But thematically, why is this cover so wonderful?
Oh, yes. So, what they were able to do, and it's really just a testament to the artist's skill. They were able to bring in all of these elements from the book. So we have kind of it's a little bit eerie. You're not quite sure what's happening here. You have a mysterious female figure. You have some antlers in the foreground, which certainly tells you something. And then if you look very closely, you can see that there's a beetle here. And more hopefully, we have some other things that are taking flight. And in the background, we have this beautiful blue sky opening up. So, all of these things really walk you through a story where, even without reading it, you see, oh, there's a journey that's happening here.
Exactly. So, and of course, the perspective is so gorgeous that it just pulls you right in. There's action and motion. And I didn't see the beetle. I'm glad that there's the beetle there because that's what I was dancing around. I pulled myself way back from talking about the beetle. But if it's on the cover, okay, we're good. We're good.
Yes.
Who else has a question? Deborah says, have you always wanted to write a thriller mystery? Good question, Deborah.
Ooh, that's a lovely question. Well, I really always wanted to write, and I wanted to write fiction. And when I started writing this book, not knowing what kind of book I was writing, I got to a certain point very early in the book, and I thought, well, as a reader, I think I'd like something to happen. Otherwise, my character's just sort of entrenched in her own thoughts. And so this sort of puzzle really lent itself well to this story, and now I'm in love with it. And I love writing mysteries, thrillers, suspense, and I think I'll spend a lot of time doing that.
Oh, we can't wait. We want you to do that. That is funny that it was a story before it was a mystery. I think that's really interesting and kind of inspirational that we never know when we're writing what the story actually is. We just have to discover that. Who else has a question? Did you have readers looking to make sure the culture was right?
I did. I had some really important readers that really uh, edited or edited during the editorial process, read the book. I had a sensitivity reader who made sure that the cultural aspects were right and respectful, and they were. And that was a real relief to me because I think none of us, myself included, wanted to send something out into the world that was a misrepresentation. Yes, it is fiction, but uh, if fiction is so specific as to feel real, then it is even better. And so they helped me get it right.
Exactly. And I love that. That's a wonderful collaboration and it's respectful in itself to open yourself to that. So good for you. Renee says, what did your daughter think of your trip?
Oh, she is such a trooper. She would go anywhere with me. I love my daughters. They're fantastic. So we had a wonderful time on the trip. We went and took pictures on Route 66. We did a lot of looking around in an abandoned town. So we had a lot of inspiration that we did. And I'd already written this particular research trip I'm speaking of, I'd already written the book and I had a lot of the atmospheric details. And I went at the same time of year with her, and we had kind of an extended stay there because I wanted to make sure I had it right. Because I wanted to do it from memory and imagination and art first, and then go make sure I had the details dialed in. And that worked really well. And we had a great time.
to do it from memory and imagination and art first, and then fill in the details. That's really, really good advice. I'm getting so much good advice from this interview. Actually, I have to tell you, along with the thought auditions, someone was asking earlier to tell us more about thought auditions. Did you come up with that phrase?
I doubt that I did. I am certain I heard it somewhere, but it's not a new concept. So I actually was just reading a craft book by Robert Olin Butler, and in there he speaks of something similar where you really follow this um, train of thought before you write. Because I could sit down and write all day. I could write, 5 or 6,000 words a day, and I have, but where is that going? And so if I do those thought auditions in my mind and I kind of know where I want it to go, it keeps the story targeted toward a certain direction.
Sure. And it's interesting too, in a writer mind, when you do those, I sort of call them the domino falling, and you
Mm.
have an idea, and the you push the domino of that idea, the dominoes of that idea over, and sometimes they just go forever, and you think, yes, that's it, and sometimes at some point they just stop. Like, what is this about? Or no, we hit a dead end, or this is a corner that won't work, or this cannot end well, and you just start over. How quickly our brains can know if that will work. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, there is so much of the subconscious at work. It's a little amazing. I always feel like I'm leaving my future self clues when I write something because I'll set it aside, come back and read it. And I'm like, oh, I've already solved my own problem in here. It's right there. So it's really a fascinating exercise, I think, in knowing yourself.
Leaving clues for your future self. I love that. And then you find them, these little gold coins that you think, oh, that's what that phone call was, or oh, that's why
Yes.
she has a dog. I mean, quite astonishing. One more question. Robin says, hey, Robin, nice to see you. If there is an audiobook, did you have a say in the narrator chosen?
There is an audiobook. It's also out today. And I have the most fabulous narrator. And I was able to audition or listen to several narrators. And let me tell you, they did a fantastic job lining them up. Any of them would have been perfect, but the narrator that we have was absolutely the best choice. And so she does a lovely job with it.
It's wonderful when you find someone who actually is your character. You think, that's just the
Yes.
voice I had in my head. I want to say hi to Susan Gruensberg, who is here. Oh, I didn't mention that is so great. And Kathy Hamdi Swink is here, and Betty Fellows. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Vicki Gregory, Robin Stull, as I said, Randy T. Joel Fatinos is here. Welcome. That's so nice that you are here. So nice to see you all. And I think one of you should win a copy of Mask of the Deer Woman. And I am being told that the Wheel of Fun is unhappy today and is not responding today. All right, fine. We will do it another way. And there we go. Margaret in the back room has figured this out. Tori T, you are the winner of the giveaway. So email us at amightyblaze@gmail.com with your address, and we will give that to Laurie's publicist, who will give it to Laurie, who will give it to the publisher, who will give it to us, who will send it to you, and it will all work out gorgeously. Tori T, thank you. The rest of you, you know what to do. Run, 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 click, click, click. Laurie, do you have events? Do you have any? Sharon was saying that she is coming to one of your events in Stillwater. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing on your tour.
Yes, so I have a number of events lined up and I never want them to end. So please come to my events. If you're somewhere that I'm not going, please request that I come, because my favorite thing is talking about books with readers. It doesn't even have to be my book. I just like to talk about it. So if you're gathering anywhere to talk about books, invite me, because it will be a lot of fun. I have an event Thursday, the 23rd, at Watermark Books and Cafe in Wichita, Kansas at 6 p.m. I'd love to see you there if you're anywhere in the area. But if not, I hope to catch up with you in some other place.
Fantastic. Well, we are eager for you to come to Boston someday. That would be really fun.
Yes.
So let me know, although it's too cold right now, don't come now. Don't come now. It has been so much fun to talk with you, Laurie. Before I let you go, Let me tell you all that next week we'll hear from Taylor Hutton, whose book Strike and Burn is, I'm not sure if it's Caravaggio red. It's close though.
Ooh.
Interesting. We have a theme, ladies and gentlemen. We have a theme. Strike and Burn, which is hot. Let me just say that is what this is, by Taylor Hutton. And you will discover next week that Taylor Hutton is two different people, two separate people. And I will let you in on that secret next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET. And we'll see you then. But Laurie, congratulations on your pub day.
Thank you. It has been such a beautiful thrill to be here with you today. I can't think of a better way to kick off this book. Thank you.
Well, we're honored to have you. And all of you who are here today, so many of you, it is such a joy to see you all. So we've been talking about Mask of the Deer Woman by Laurie L. Dove. Run, 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 and get this marvelous book. Next week at 4 p.m. ET, I'm reaching over to get Strike and Burn by Taylor Hutton. And until then, you know what I always say. It is always safe inside a book. And we will see you next time. Love you. And we're still on, right? Because